Hello, friends. My name is Steve, and we're here today to discuss It Comes at Night. It is day 9 of the 24 A24 videos in 24 days challenge. Ooh, that's a mouthful. And today I am with Anthony Self. Thank you for coming by again to chat movies with me.
No problem at all. How have you been finding? How have you been finding the A24 challenge?
I've only had one stinker so far, so not too bad. Not too bad. Out of, I think I've watched 9 or 10 total, and I've seen a couple other ones on the list before that I enjoy, so not too bad. Gotta go for the
I
headphones.
got the echo. I was getting the echo. I'm going to put
Okay.
my headphones in. Wait there.
Okay, sure. But yeah, not too bad. Not too bad at all.
Sorry, Steve. I
No,
was getting the
you're
echo.
fine. You're fine. So, but yeah, not too bad. If you can hear me,
I'm still getting an echo. Oh, wow.
that's
This is
weird.
weird.
Yeah, you shouldn't be.
No. Why am I getting an echo?
Are
God
you,
damn. Last time it was my internet went down. Now it's the audio. Why is it every time I do this with you, there's like a weird thing going on?
well, the common denominator is me. Maybe it's just me.
Let me just go in settings. Wait there 1 second.
Sure. So it's day 9, and I think so. This movie is more of a psychological horror. I think you could safe to say more psychological, less on the gore and jump scares and things like that. It's more gets in your mind, and what I like about it is it puts you in the position of wondering how you would handle these situations, if you would how you would handle strangers with this kind of setup of a pandemic. Makes you wonder what you would do, and I watched this before our pandemic, and it's interesting to see the difference now of how differently we see these kind of things after our own.
It's great in that respect of this was released in 2017, right?
Mhm.
So it preluded what we've actually gone through. And in the respect of we're sort of sitting here with hindsight, we've already seen these like zombie apocalypse movies. We've always seen these kind of like movies of like, but this was so close to what actually happened in life that I think this is actually more poignant now, this film, because you have a family that are just trying to survive. The plague, the director, Trey Edward Shults, doesn't actually sort of tell you what this
Mm.
is, what this kind of plague is, but we know it kind of affects the body. It affects the whole kind of like skin, uh,
Mm.
respiratory system, all that kind of stuff. But it also at the same time, there are things that you can do to avoid it. And I think through the last couple of years that we've gone through COVID, it's very interesting to kind of view this film now again after the fact of what's happened, and I think that's really interesting. So, Steve, you didn't see this before COVID and
I
everything?
did, yeah.
You did? Okay,
Mm.
okay. It'd be really interesting to kind of find someone who hadn't watched this film before that, but then also seeing like someone afterwards as well, like to kind of see the kind of dichotomy of like how you perceive something from a kind of, you know, a way of how things were, and then seeing this like crazy people in the woods that are like, but then you think, well, it could happen.
Yeah, could happen. But what I like about this one is I'm not sure that it turns people into zombies. It's more of just an illness, like a debilitating illness that if you get it, then it's not good news for you. If you can hear me.
I think I had an echo on my thing, so I think I've sorted it now.
Okay, good.
I think because I had the second monitor on, it's all good.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Maybe. Now I can hear it again.
Maybe
Sorry, what
it's
were you
me. I
saying,
don't
Steve?
know. No, I was just gonna say, it is it's not a zombie type of illness. It's more of a physical illness that
Yeah,
debilitates you. It's not like you're running around eating people.
that's right.
Mhm. And I would comment, no offense to anyone who liked this movie, but I wasn't a fan. It didn't do anything original that we hadn't seen in The Walking Dead, 28 Days Later, etc. That's fair.
The thing
I can see
is,
that.
it's not a zombie film. This is the whole point. It's That's what I think that needs to be established. It's not a zombie film at all. It's a slow burn film,
Mhm.
and it is a very slow burn type of film. We don't know what this plague is. We don't really know what's going on. However, it's the dynamic between this family that are just trying to survive. They now meet another family that get intertwined, and the dynamic between them. And I think really it's Travis, the son. That's how we see. That's our perspective. That's the audience perspectives, because we see all
Mhm.
of his fears. We see all of his, his nightmares in life, sort of thing. So, yeah,
Yeah. It does focus more on, I guess you could say, the survivors than it does kind of like how you would handle surviving. Because if you let new people in, if you find new people, do you try to, how what length do you go to before you trust them to bring them in, to bring them into your camp or your house or your stronghold or whatever? So I think that's the most interesting part for me, is how to handle those situations. And if you would let strangers in, or would you kill everyone that you are
yeah.
don't trust?
I'm just gonna take 1 minute. I'm gonna leave the studio and then come back in, because that might help there. Because I'm hearing is like this like dual echo thing, and I appreciate musicians when they're singing on, because I'm. Give me 2 seconds, Steve. Sorry, I'll be
Sure, no problem.
back in 1 second.
No problem. I think the constant is me and all of Anthony's problems, but yeah, I know a lot of people who don't like this movie, and I can see why it's not for everyone. Definitely, it's not a movie that's beloved by everyone. It's definitely a slow burn, and yeah, so I can see some people just aren't fans of it. It's totally understandable, but I did like the kind of the focusing on, like I said, who you would let in, who you wouldn't let in. If you find someone that you're even borderline on, would you let them in? And they would know where you are, and they would know how to get back to you. So if they are from a bigger group, they can come and take whatever you have. So where do you draw that line of not bringing people in, or uh, killing whoever you don't trust? But yeah, definitely not one for everyone. I can see that for sure. So we'll just wait for Anthony to come back. But yeah, so um, the the other thing I liked is there wasn't a whole lot of jump scares or anything like that. There's a couple. I think there's one or two that focus a little bit on the jumps, but it's more of a getting into your mind and and focusing on that more than the scares. How's it
Sorry.
now?
Yeah, it's all good. No echoes. It's all.
Cool.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, sorry. From what we were saying, yeah, this isn't a zombie film, and that's the whole kind of thing. BPO 1975. Um, I get it. It is a slow burn of a film.
Hmm.
It's not for everyone. What I personally liked about it was the fact that it's this family that are just trying to survive, and they have this kind of very stringent, rigid set of rules. I think, what is it? Don't go out, or if you go out in the daytime, go out in pairs. The other one is obviously don't go out at night, and then the second one is like always eat together. And the patriarchal figure of this, Paul,
Hmm.
played by Paul Edgerton, who I was just saying to Steve before this viewing sort of thing, is that he is such an underrated actor and director as well. And I think he plays it perfectly, in the respect of like he's just this guy that's trying to save his family. Like he's maybe a bit obsessed about the rules and the kind of ways of going about things, but that's what's kept his family safe and secure. And you have to remember, like this film was made before COVID, right? So with hindsight, and with the whole thing of us now being, with the lockdowns and everyone being at home and all that kind of stuff, there is an element of, has it gone a bit? Does he go a bit above and beyond? Sure, maybe.
Mm.
He's just trying to keep his family safe. So it's interesting then when another family becomes entwined into their life, and how you see the kind of the human aspect of like, hey, we haven't seen anyone for XYZ amount of years or weeks or months or whatever it may be. There's this distrust. There's this like, how we're gonna bring these people into our kind of culture sort of thing. and how are we going to work together, essentially, because that's what the thing is. Like, how are we going to work together as a team, because that's what they need to survive, to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brandy, it ended up being their downfall to bring people in, even though it seemed they had a good time and were happy together for a little bit. We
Brandy,
couldn't. Yeah.
I love the fact that you've answered, because I think this is one of the kind of films that takes away of, like, you know, optimist and pessimist, a realist. I think what the director's really done very well in this respect is, like, told you, like, would you, like, when the people came in, what do you think? Does that make the right decision for, like, to bring them in, or would they be better without them? Because, like, you see these things with Travis, the young boy, right? The 17-year-old, he's learning about life, and, like, he hasn't obviously seen things that when the new when the what are the names? Sorry, Will and Kim with their son Andrew, when they come in, he's opened up to a life that he hasn't known before. So there's this element that he's not knowing things before. He's growing up as well, and he's developing as an adult. Like, you know, he's 17-year-old, and I don't think it actually specifies how long this disease has been going on. We can assume maybe a couple of years, but there's this element now, this new kind of, like, people have come into their lives, and he hears them basically making love upstairs and stuff like that. That's his sexual awakening as well, to a certain degree. There's a lot of elements of that that's played ambiguously, but very finely done, where you see Kim, that maybe they're flirting, maybe this young buck is, like, you know, there's a lot of that going on, but also at the same time, Brandy. So it ended up being their downfall to bring people in. I think that's one of those kind of things where you can go away with, like, all right, if you lean on one side of the fence and you say, if they didn't bring them at all, they would have gone about their lives, and then maybe X, Y, Z amount of years later, that Travis would have resented the patriarchal guy, maybe the mother, maybe they would have had their own implosion. We don't know. If they'd invited them in, yes, you know, what we saw on the film sort of happened. It's really interesting, and I think that's one of the things that I took away, because I thought about that as well. It's like, would you rather the person let the people in and, like, you know, open up a new way of life to this very strict regime? Because, you know, Will and Kim don't adhere to it to begin with, but also at the same time, if they just let them, and you know, they would have gone off their, Joel Edgerton's character Paul and Sarah and Travis would have gone their own way. Would they have come to their own fracture point later on? Who knows? But it's interesting. But it's one of those kind of, I think, those philosophical kind of, like, is it a glass half empty or half full, or, you know, middle of the way? It's really interesting. Yeah.
To give the glass half empty point of view is living like that with, you know, you don't go out at night, you leave your doors closed, you have a door, you know, you are constantly fighting for survival. Is it really surviving? I don't know. I mean,
It's interesting. Like, is this I mean, the way that Paul's working ethic is, I think, and this is established very early on, is like, you adhere to these rules, you live. The whole start of the movie is the grandfather dying, right? We don't, as far as I'm aware, we don't realize why the grandfather contracted this virus. It's just the kind of thing of, I think it's a more of a kind of cinematic sort of thing for us to know that Travis, who's our kind of main POV in this story, is, like, seeing his grandfather. This is, like, his first instance of death, maybe. They bury him in a shallow grave, the fire, you know, it's all very, like, when you see it, you're like, wow, what's going on here? Because we don't really know, as an audience person at this point in time, you don't really know what's going on. You know, they're walking around in gas masks when they're in the woods and stuff. The red door, the airlock thing. I think this may have been like a kind of sort of cinematic thing where it's like, there is something out there, and it, you know, it comes at night, is meant to be. It's a very, like, I think there was maybe a bit of a kind of put you on the ropes kind of thing to make you think that there is actually some kind of malevolent force out in the woods, and that's fine. But also at the same time, the malevolent force came from within. And I'm always like, listen, if anyone, you know, I think someone said about The Walking Dead and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
You know, with all these kind of zombie, like we know now, I think we've become so saturated with zombies films and literature and whatnot that we know that the evil is the humans, the people within, right? The humans that actually do the thing. In this sense, I think it's more the kind of case of, if you adhere to certain rules and that's going to keep you alive, the structure, the routine of things will get you so far. But you also need people. You also need culture. You need other perspectives. And I think this is what this really embellished. It Comes
Mhm.
at Night, is that you have these other people that come in that kind of set a precedence of, we're not going to abide by your rules to a certain extent. We are our own people, but also at the same time, we will need to live together. So there's that kind of harmonic, but also at the same time, we are our own people type of thing, which I loved. That's what I loved about this film as well. Steve, what did you kind of think in that kind of respect?
Yeah, I think it focuses more on the survival than it does and I like how it leaves things ambiguous because the dog is barking outside, so you wonder, is there something out there when the dog comes back and it's sick? It's not just humans that are getting sick. It didn't look like it was sick. It looked like it was attacked. So you wonder, do they not go out at night because something is out at night?
Mm,
None of that's explained. And when they do ask about it, when he does ask Will about, what do you know about what's happening? And no one really knows. It's just a mystery. So that adds to it. That adds to the because you don't know really what's happening. And if you lived out remote like that, you probably wouldn't know because things fall apart so quickly, as we've seen.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, this is it. Like, living in the boondocks sort of thing and all that kind of stuff. Like, and this is on the. You do get the feeling like I'm not sure that there's a mention of being in the cities and stuff, but there is they are on the kind of periphery of society, of civilization in that respect. So, it's kind of. I don't know why you would board up the windows though.
The only thing I could think of was just to make it look abandoned, so no one would
So no one would
see it
actually come
see it
and
and think
yeah.
that there's someone there. So maybe
Mm,
they would think that it had already been ransacked or something, and they wouldn't be able to peek inside to see if someone's home or how many people are there or what you have. You would all be was is it worth the risk to get in? So maybe just you know as much as you can hide, the better. But they had a pretty good setup. They were cleaning their water and
yeah.
they ended up with chickens, and so they had a pretty decent thing going for a while.
Hmm. Oh yeah, they had a whole like system, and that was the thing. Like it was more the kind of case of, is it better the devil you know than, because didn't I know I could be, wasn't Will and Kim, didn't they say they actually had their own place and they
They
were
yeah.
coming out to, like, there's a lot of mistrust, and this is the thing I love about these type of films, is the mistrust. It's like the kind of John Carpenter who goes there sort of element of, what do you trust in, like, these people, like, because they stay there for a while, and although they do say certain things, i.e., oh, we've got this place and that, but then you have chickens and you have like this whole, wouldn't it be better to stay somewhere like this? But then where is your worth? Like, how do you, almost kind of like a survivor type thing, like in the island of like Lord of the Flies. How do you present your worth and all this kind of stuff? And that's what you get that with Paul and Will. There's a bit of testosterone fueled. Like, you got the main guy, Paul, played by Joel Edgerton, and he's ruled the roost for so long, and now he's been
Mhm.
challenged in certain ways. And I love that dynamic there. And then you've got a different dynamic as well with like Kim and like the wife, and then with Travis as well. Like, there's a lot of things going on, and I enjoyed that about this film. So yeah, I mean, I always love a good slow burn.
Yeah.
Andrei Tarkovsky's, like, Stalker, for example. Like, I know that wouldn't be for a lot of people, but also at the same time, the philosophical elements of it as well are really interesting. And I think this kind of takes the kind of, if you, all right, forget about the kind of, this is my interpret, well, this is one interpretation anyway. Take away the plague element of it. Take it in a kind of 1950s 2.4 family white picket fence environment, and you have, like, Paul, who's going off to the job and with his white tie, and the wife who's at home cooking and all this kind of, and you have the son. But then you have this element that comes in that kind of rocks the whole world. what is your fundamental values? And I think that's what this film is about, really. It's the fundamental values of this family
Mm.
who, although there's a epidemic or a pandemic or whatever you want to call it, sort of thing, they have these rules, and that's why I always go back to the rules. These 3 rules and everything, and the red door, and don't go out at night, and la la la, or else the boogeyman will get you, type thing. You have all these things that are intrinsically put there to kind of say, hey, these are the rules. This is how you live your life. But then you have this external force that comes inside, and it's like, well, actually, maybe we don't have to live our lives like this. Maybe we can live our lives a different way. And I think, once again, as I said, I think, interestingly enough, the director went with the POV of Travis because of the fact that we're seeing all these new things that he's experiencing. And it's like, well, okay, yeah, maybe Dad's not right. And I'd like to think we'd all be there, when, what's the point of a child knowing that their parent maybe not be God? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think is the point of, like, you don't know how that child could be 4, child could be 12, that child could be whatever it may be, whatever the age is. But there's always a point where you realize as a child that your parent isn't God. And I think that's what this film kind of embellishes, is the fact that, like, you have Travis, who's almost at times just going for what make his dad proud, wanting to do what his dad says. But throughout the film, we find out that, like, maybe he's finding himself as a person. And that's what I thought was really interesting about this film. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a moment that I didn't notice the first time that stood out to me this time, is when Will is showing him how to cut firewood.
Mm.
And it almost looks like he's a little jealous that he's showing his son how to cut firewood. There's a little tension there when
I think that's that testosterone thing. It's like it's one of those kind of things of, like, when you go camp. Like, I mean, I've gone camping once in my life, I think. No one ever told me how to make firewood. It's a really integral thing. Like, I think, and I'm not. This is like toxic masculinity or anything like that. It's like, I think there are certain elements as a man, like, man make fire, man make fire, sort of thing. So fundamentally, when I'm sitting there going, just put the things in the thing, right, and then you put this thing here. Is that get the lighter? It's one of these, like, survival kind of things where, I love watching these survival, like, TV shows where people are put on the side and it's like, get on with it, just get on with it, see how you go. But making a fire in itself is a task, and you don't, you need to know how. I weirdly enough, I don't know why I saw this. I was seeing this, like, weird Icelandic way of making fires, and it's so cool. It's like you get, like, a log and you break it down and you kind of chip away at the thing and you make, like, a teepee with the wood,
Hmm.
but then it's great, it's fantastic. Now, my dad didn't tell me how to do that sort of thing. I'm not going to berate him. I'm going to say, Dad, hey, why didn't you tell me how to make this particular fire? But, like Steve, as you're saying, it is that thing where you have this newcomer that comes into the scene, and he's doing these, like, fundamental, like, father son type things that you think of, like even throwing a ball, like, type of thing, and he's, like, teaching him how to cut wood, and you can see that Paul is getting, like, really vexed by it, but he's trying to do that thing where he's not showing how vexed he is, but it's boiling under the surface. And that's why what I think is really good about this film is, like, it's all subtext. It's all the stuff that's boiling under the surface that you don't see, that then comes out maybe later on in the third act, regardless. But yeah, really good.
I like too that it didn't all come crashing down because they were bad people. They just made a mistake. Heartbreaking. It was and he does catch Will in a lie, because when he first finds Will tells him, I was with my brother. My brother's dead. And then later on, he says he's an only child. So could you blame Will for lying to him at first? I mean, is that so?
It's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah.
But if he did lie to him at first, he should just say, you know what, I told you that because I didn't know if I could trust you or not. So, but then again, does Will trust Paul enough to tell him, hey, so it's that constant tension,
Communication.
who can
Yeah.
I trust? How
Yeah.
much how much do I want you to know?
But this is it. This is the whole thing. I think this is one of those type of films that, is pivotal on the respect of like you don't know who to trust or why to trust them, all that kind of stuff. Like for the whole point is that they break in because they want to get water, right? I think there's something about that later, isn't there? Like I can't remember, I could be wrong, but like the whole point of breaking into someone's house to get water, even though they have their own place, it's like don't really know. And as you say, like catch them out of the lie. When you catch someone out of lie, if you confront them about it, it's the whole thing about lying is there's only two possibilities. You lie to either escape or profit from a situation, right? So which one is he doing? Is he trying to run away, or is he trying to profit from it? So yeah.
Yeah, he did try to say it was a
Okay.
brother-in-law, so we don't know for sure that. That's another thing, is we don't know for sure if he was lying or not. So that adds to it, because it's up to us to decide.
Oh, of course, yeah. And this is the whole thing about this film. It's like it's left very ambiguous for everyone to kind of like take their own interpretations. As I said before, like I think this is one of those type of films where it's like you can either fall on the side of Paul, who's like the patriarchal sort of character who's like kept this stringent, like this regimen so long. That's what kept his family alive. But then at the start, you see his grandfather died. So it's like, so what happened there? Like, there's different elements at play. And even once again, get back to the COVID thing, like this was like made in 2017. So like, this precursed that element to it. And we were all staying indoors, right? We all had that kind of element of staying indoors and da-da-da-da-da. So I know there's been a lot of films like this that will that deal with plagues and pandemics and epidemics and whatnot. But I think this is one of those type of films that takes it to that degree of, wash your hands, because they always go out in the gas masks, and he's regimented in the respect of, we're not going to get this because I don't want my family to die. Yeah, and it was just so it's weird actually for the 2 years later COVID happened, and then we were all experiencing the same type of thing, apart from the apocalyptic sense where 90% of the world died. But yeah.
So I'm assuming that Andrew, the 6-year-old, opened the door, but we never know for sure.
We don't know. Yeah.
But it makes sense that it would be him. But then again, is he tall enough to reach the locks? Could he even know? Why would he do that? Is he just sleepwalking? So I like that too, that we never know who
Yeah.
we don't know.
What is it? That's the whole thing. Like, and also, yeah, is it like a fever dream? What is to say what is real here? Like, I don't want to get like too Lynchian, because that's a bit too much. But like, there are a lot of elements of Lynchian in here, and I love that. I appreciate that. But yeah, I think it is left open to interpretation. But that's what I love about it. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense because I think Will and Kim were in bed together.
Yeah.
They were sound asleep, but then again, maybe they went somewhere. Another thing that I liked is when the dog is barking in the woods, and you never know if someone's there. It seems like something's out there. So that's another thing they left vague of what is lurking out there.
I kind of put that down to, I'll be honest, I put that down to a bit of red herring. I put that down to the red herring thing of, because the whole point, like, I think for like the first like 20 minutes or whatever sort of thing, you do think there's like a malevolent force outside. And there is, of course, but you think it's a kind of physical thing rather than maybe the plague or whatnot. And obviously dogs and cats, we all know this sort of thing, have that kind of hypersensitive thing of they know when things are coming. So there is an element of that, but I did think personally myself that was just like a red herring. That was just like an element of, we're going to add this in just to make you think, the audience think, that there's maybe something else, some other presence out there that's going to be coming later and all that kind of stuff. That was my personal opinion anyway.
Yeah, it seemed, because we never see anyone else other than the people who attack them when they're on the road. I think that was like 10 miles away. So yeah, and dogs do bark at everything, so you never know.
That's right. And cats get scared of everything as well.
Yeah, but having a dog probably wouldn't be the best idea in this situation.
Do you not think? I don't
Because
know.
in the beginning, when they find Will, they're trying to shut the dog up, and he's, they like holding his snout so he doesn't bark. Probably not the
Hmm.
best animal to have around.
Hmm.
That's like a
It's an
German
interesting.
Shepherd or something.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting question, Steve. Like, it's like, do you have a dog that's? I don't know. See, I think I. Oh, you're right. My light just went down there. Sorry.
Yeah.
Um, it always does it. It always does it. I don't know if I. I think I prefer a dog in this situation
Hmm.
because of the fact that although the dog might be barking at something that's just like a noise, a wind chime 2 miles down the road or whatever it may be, there would be that kind of at least earlier warn system. You know what I mean? That kind of early alarm system that's like there's something, and you can always tell with an animal. I don't know. I've had I've had dogs. I've had cats. It's an interesting one. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, I'd have a dog
You'd have a dog.
in this
Okay.
particular situation. Definitely. Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm.
Another thing to feed too.
Oh, Steve. Steve. Yeah, you're right.
It's a tough one.
Could we eat the grandfather figure? You know, could we go a bit cannibal style?
Uh,
Are we going down that road?
oh, they burn the body. They burn all the bodies.
They do, but we don't
Yeah.
see them. There's nothing about eating them.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they were
I'm
trying
going to
to.
be yellow jackets here, you know.
Yeah.
No, it's
But yeah.
interesting. It's an
Yeah.
interesting concept. Yeah, I think I would personally have a dog
Hmm.
just for that reason, but a trained dog.
It'd be tough to train a dog in that situation too.
Hmm.
I don't know. That'd be tough. That'd be a tough one. Um, Another thing that struck me in the second viewing was all the shots and the shapes and the framing and all the shots.
Yes.
Very impressive.
Yeah. I mean, from the red door, I mean, you can't get any red means danger, right?
Hmm.
And you present it with this door, and it's like, where do we go from here? Like, you got this airlock sort of system. I really like the direction. It was, how can I say this in a way that's not, it was functional
Hmm.
without it being abrasive, without it being too obstructive, without it being too artsy. Because listen, this is an independent film, and I've known a lot. You know, we've seen a lot of directors that try to go above and beyond to make out it's an independent film. This, I think, is once again one of those slow burn films that doesn't need to do too much. It does exactly what it does. Um, yeah, so I can't fault the direction on this. I thought it was
Hmm.
brilliant. Do you have any?
No, no. I
Uh,
was gonna say the soundtrack too was just enough.
that's it. Like it wasn't too much.
Hmm.
It was just sublimely for the what was going on.
Yeah.
Like I'm one of those kind of people. Like I don't want to be like one of those when I'm watching something. It's like if the ba ba ba. If I'm watching Lord of the Rings, sure, you know I'm going to get the ba 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 ba. If I'm watching, you know, an action film, like it's going to be this. This is one of those kind of films, and I hate to say it, I don't know who did the soundtrack for this kind of thing, but it it was so sublime, and I think
Hmm.
that's really good. Like, you know what I mean? That I don't notice it. That's great.
Yeah.
It's like the best VFX sort of thing. It's like if you don't notice the VFX going on, then you've got me.
Yeah.
You've already. I'm already the worm on your hook in that respect. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah. It was just enough to build tension, but not enough to take your attention away from what's happening.
yeah,
It's like
definitely.
yeah. It didn't try to be the focal point. It was just enough
Yeah,
to. It was like minimalistic in a way of how they used it.
very very minimalistic, but also at the same time, yeah, like, because of what's going on, like from what we're seeing from the family. Yeah, definitely. I think it personally. I think it was perfectly set juxtaposition wise for what was going on. Yeah.
Mhm. And so I'm guessing that they're all sick, right? I think that's pretty. By the end, I think they're. So we know that Travis was sick, and
Yeah.
so I think everyone's screwed.
Will.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I would just assume because they weren't wearing masks around him,
Yeah.
so they were all kind of just. I think they were all exposed to Andrew, who I'm guessing that's who got the rest of them sick. So they all got sick. They were all exposed.
See,
One
once again,
mistake.
it's interesting that yeah, it's how you perceive. Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, probably. That's what happened.
Pretty bleak.
Um, it's a very bleak film. Like anyone who's like watching this now is like going, I've never watched this before. Can I? It is a very bleak film, but also at the same time, there are moments of humanity that
Mhm.
you see shine and all that kind of stuff. I don't know why I'm trying to do like a weird, but no, you're right. I think Andrew, kids, man.
Damn
What can you do
kids.
with the kid? Those damn kids.
One sleepwalking kid.
Those pesky sleepwalking kids.
Yeah, it wipes out their whole little community they had.
But that's it, right? I mean, it's interesting. Like towards the end when Will and Kim just want to leave, that in itself is a very poignant sort of moment. Like they're just like, "Hey, we just want to go." When Paul's coming to the door, it's like, "Hey, come on, we just want to see what you're doing. What's going on?" And like, ah, we just want to
Nothing.
go. We just want to leave. Nothing's happening here. It's all good. Like, yeah, it's uh, he hates to see it,
Yeah.
essentially. But also at the same time, I mean, if you were all right, Steve, if you're in that situation and you're on the side of Kim and Will, like, what would you do? Right? Like, you'd want to get out. Doesn't matter. You know yourself. You know you're probably infected, and you probably infected everyone else. But you just want to get out because you know what Paul's like. You know what he's going to do.
Mhm.
Like, can you blame him?
No, you can't. You can't blame him. Well, but because like you said, you know what he plans to do, what will happen to you.
Mm,
You'll end up in a shallow grave being burned, and that'd be the end. Whereas if you can get out, maybe there's a chance, I don't know, somehow that you can, I don't know, you can go somewhere.
yeah.
But it's yeah, I mean, everyone's motivations kind of make sense.
Yeah, and this is what I loved about this film as well. Like everyone has their own exactly what you said there, Steve, like motivations. Like, Paul is the guy who's the patriarchal man of the family. He's like, these are the rules, blah 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 blah. You see Travis almost becoming betwixt with Will in the respect of like, there's a new person here, and of course you would be enamored by someone who's new and has maybe a different mindset to what you've
Mhm.
known all your life, kind of thing. In that respect, if that's fair enough to say. What do you think of Sarah? What do you think of Paul's wife?
Y She didn't have a whole lot. I don't know if she really took control too many times. Towards the end, when Will is bashing Paul's face in, it takes her a little while to shoot him. These
This is
are
what I was thinking. I didn't know if like there was an element of she was just going along with things because she knew that this is the safe house kind of thing. Like we're all safe here. This is all good. There were elements of I don't want to say distrust, but there were elements of
like doubt or
yeah, yeah. And I don't know if that was. I think that could have been something that may have like maybe Will could have done something a bit more to kind of say like, hey, you know what? Maybe your husband doesn't know everything. And I'm sure that there were moments of that
Mm,
peppered throughout, but it wasn't. I think it could have been something that could have been explored a lot more. I
yeah.
think personally, in terms of her character, in terms of like, because obviously at the end it becomes a shit show. Will and Kim and Andrew run off into the woods, and Paul's like, "No, come back." And I don't. I'll be honest with you. I don't really understand that. I've got to say,
Oh,
this
to
is
let them
it,
go?
well, not to let them go, but just to shoot them in the woods. Like they've already. I mean, if it's all about the infection and stuff, then they've already been infected, right? Or they've already.
Yeah,
Why just not let them go? Like, I didn't really understand that. Maybe this
I
is
would
me.
I would think to not have them come back if they were able to come back, because once you leave, if you let them go, if they should survive,
But
then
Will
they're a
said
threat.
that. Will was like, "Look, we just want what's fair. We're going to take this, and we're going to leave. You're never going to see us again."
But can you trust him that he's not? What if there's a bigger group that they belong to and they'll come back?
Interesting. Okay.
So if they know they know your security, they know what
Yeah,
your
yeah,
setup
yeah,
is,
yeah.
and
Oh,
they know
you're
your
right,
system.
because we don't really know if they. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
So them knowing what they know, they're a threat to you, and you can't
Yeah,
let them go. Once you come in and you show everyone what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are, once you're
it's
in, you
true.
can't leave because
That's
then you
true.
can
That's
come
true.
back with a bigger group or with whoever or on your
Yeah.
own.
I feel like we're in the Thunderdome now. Two men
Yeah,
enter, one man leaves. Yeah.
kind of. Yeah, it kind of is like that.
Mm.
Uh, yeah,
Can
it's
we get
pretty.
Tina singing to
Bad.
us though? We don't need another hero. Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, she would survive. Tina Turner would survive,
Of
but
course, she always survives.
yeah, she would live. Oh yeah, yeah, really. Yeah, I thought it was it. I like the focus on the slow burn. I know not everyone's a fan of the slow burns, but I like them.
I too. Yeah. Like as I was saying before, I had a bit of a weird Joel Edgerton crush going
Hmm.
on literally a few days before this feed. Um, I watched Warrior. I always Warrior for me is like my go-to film. I don't know, like people may have that like if you're just not even feeling down, but just like I just want a good film to watch. Not even I know it's a kind of rocky sort of sense of like motivational, but I just love Warrior.
Hmm.
And me and my partner were watching it sort of thing. And I was like, oh, do you know what? If you haven't watched this, you got to watch The Gift because this was Joel Edgerton's. I don't know if it was directorial debut. He might have
Hmm.
directed something beforehand, but this was, and it's a really dark sort of film with Jason Bateman and Rebecca Hall, and she loved it, and she was like,
Hmm.
"Yeah, this was darkly like once again another ambiguous type of film." I just think Joel Edgerton is a really underrated actor, and I don't know why he's not getting as much precedence as other actors because he knows what he's doing. Um, yeah, I think there should be a bit of a shout out to him because he does these like independent. Like, listen, at the end of the day, this was like a film, almost like Evil Dead style. This is like a film about a cabin in the woods, essentially. Um, you know, independent in that respect of the budget, I imagine. And I don't think it got it's kind of like heyday sort of thing because I loved this film when it first came out. I saw the trailer and I remember the trailer being very ominous, and I was like, "Ooh, this is up my street. I like this." And I watched it. I was blown away. And I adhere everyone to that's watching this or going to be watching this to do watch it because you should. It's pretty good. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I didn't know he was a director too until we talked earlier.
Oh, have you seen The Gift?
It's been a long time. It's been a
Yeah,
while.
it's just really good. Like in terms of what you perceive, I can't say anything more because I'm going to spoil. I'm one of those kind of people. I can't really give a synopsis of a film without spoiling it. So I'm always like, oh, this, and da, 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 da. But it's essentially about a husband and a wife that move into a new place. He meets an old school friend that he hasn't seen for years.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I have seen that one. Yeah.
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 And the old school friend starts kind of stalking them. And you're like, oh, this is kind of weird. This is like Fatal Attraction, sort of like it's that single white female, but there's twists, there's turns. It's great.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
there were some twists in that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that one now. Yeah.
Mm.
Good stuff. Cool. So any other thoughts on this one?
Um, Off the top of my head, there probably are a lot of things in terms of once again, the hindsight thing
Mhm.
where we've been for the last couple of years and how this film came out. I think maybe a lot of people that haven't seen the film that may watch it now might weirdly take a preference to a certain, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because we've all experienced that now. It's weird to say it, but at the time when this came out in 2017, like, I think everyone was like, okay, I understand the kind of trying to help, trying to keep the family safe. But now we've all been through it during COVID. There is an element of, would we do the same thing? I think we would. It's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah. But apart from that, no, it's a great film. You should watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it. I don't think it's one that I would recommend to everyone, but it's one that
No.
I know I loved it, but I know not everyone will. So
If you're looking for like a fast-paced action thing, this is not your film. This is a slow burn. It's a very slow burn film. It's very intrinsically dealing with coming of age, weirdly, with Travis's character, but also with a family unit, but also with stringent rules. It's a lot of there's a lot of themes going on here, I think. And you could, once again, you take away what I think your personal opinion of things are.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but it would be interesting to see someone who watched this after or before the pandemic and what their views are and how they would handle things, because before, you see someone in a gas mask walking outside and you think, wow, but now it's like, oh yeah, it's Tuesday. So it's
Yeah.
just a whole new world. So it's a little scary, but yeah, it's one of those
Definitely.
things.
Yeah.
But before we call it, where can people find you and your channel or your work?
You can find me on Twitter at Mr. Selfie as my little thing as that
There you
bloke.
go.
I also have a YouTube channel called Horrible where I do mostly game playthroughs, but also some reviews. And I've also got 2 books out. One is a dystopian novel called Birthday Treat, and the other one is a short horror collection called Catbox and Other Strange Stories.
Yes. Birthday Treat is fantastic. So anyone who's looking for a funny dystopian black comedy, hits a little close to home too, gotta say, but very good.
Oh, this one, yeah.
Yeah. But thanks everyone for coming by. Even if you weren't a fan of it, it's always fun to talk about it and to just compare notes. But until next time, we will talk to everyone very soon.